So part of me wondered if this was even a relevant video for January or February posting schedule. But then I realized the way that weddings are these days, this is a relevant video and topic all year round, any time of day, it does not matter. The wedding industry has gotten insane. And even though I got married 7 years ago in March, I can still share with you some tricks that we used then that are still applicable today to keep yourself from falling into the hole of spending tons and tons of money on your wedding day. For reference, we ended up spending right around $2,000 on our entire wedding. This does not include wedding bands or the engagement ring. However, each time that I go back and try to calculate up exactly what we spent, it's somewhere a little over $1,500. So just to be safe, I'm rounding up and saying this is how we spent under $2,000 on our wedding. I will go ahead and start off by letting you know our financial situation. My husband and I were both in entry-level job positions. We had been in the workforce for maybe like 1.5 years, 2 years at that point. So we weren't making a ton. We were going to be renting a basement apartment for a really great deal, but we knew that we were going to want our own space soon, like the place that we would own. So we wanted to be very financially savvy with our funds for this wedding. Whenever I was in college, my parents put about $3,000 in a CD for me that was locked for 2 or 3 years. The CD did not have great interest. It gained some, I think it gained like $186 or something. So by the end of that CD term, I had a wedding fund of $3,200 roughly. And my parents had told me, they said, you can use that as your wedding fund. That's the money that we are putting towards your wedding for you to use. Or you can use it for whatever else and pay for the wedding on your own. I was all like, sure, let's use $3,200 on our wedding. But we had went through Financial Peace University by Dave Ramsey during our engagement. And my husband is such a saver anyways. He's so wise financially. He was like, you know what, let's just try to do this on our own, out of pocket, pay for it as we go. And then we'll still have that $3,200 to put towards savings for whatever is to come. And honestly, I did not like that answer because I was like, I can pinch pennies and I can make this go a long way. But not having like a set amount, I was like, now I have to just be wise and like, that's no fun. But it was so smart and such a good discipline for us to start out our marriage with. You guys, I did not regret it, not a single time. Now let me just preface by saying that we were overwhelmingly blessed and taken care of by an amazing church community. There were so many people that just stepped up and truly wanted to help, would not take no for an answer, in ways that we could not have asked for. We never would have asked for. God just used them. He used their servant hearts. He used their resources, their skills, their gifts in order to really bless us. And that is something that we could not have fabricated. That's something that I could not tell you how to do. I just tell you that if you are involved in a church community, if you have a great, what people call village or tribe, it goes a really long way. I will say with that, don't take the chance away from people to be a blessing to you. I worked on staff at a church for a while and I was constantly reminded by my pastor, do not say no for people. If there's a need within the church, ask the people that come to mind and then let them say no. There's no shame if they do, but you may be taking away a blessing that someone really, really wants to give you, someone really wants to be a part of, and a ministry that someone really wants to see God bring to fruition and bless people through. So just keep that in mind. If you do have people in your life that you know have gifts, that you know have skills, that you know would love to be a part of your special day, don't take the blessing away from them. Ask them if they want to be involved and then thank them endlessly. Not only with words, but with monetary gifts if you can, with acts of service in return, whatever it may be. Don't take that lightly and don't be a moocher, but definitely use what you have. So here we go. Number 1, don't have a long engagement. I know that this is extremely countercultural right now in the way that we do things, just the way that we plan, and it's not common. It's not common, but I will tell you, there are many reasons that I would say not to have a long engagement, especially from a Christian perspective. However, regardless, the longer that you have an engagement before the wedding, the longer you have to see things on Pinterest or out in the stores or at bridal shows or wherever that you want. And it's just so much easier to spend money. Whereas if you are on a time crunch, our engagement was 5 months. And honestly, I was begging for it to be cut short. I was hoping that we could do it in 3. I know in saying that the typical wedding industry will tell you there's absolutely no way you can have a short engagement because venues book up over a year in advance now, DJs book up, all these things in order to go and do all the stuff, the getting the dress, the picking out the bridesmaids' dresses, the cake tasting, it has to be longer. I'm telling you it doesn't. And this is how. For a venue, I would recommend thinking of all the places that you know and love, the places that you've been, the places that maybe you've seen weddings before, just properties that you absolutely adore. That could be a grandparent's house, it could be a barn. I know that that's not as popular anymore, but it could be literally anything. It could be a big field somewhere. It could be a state park. It could be anything. And then go through and see which ones you have access to. If it's a private property, ask those people if they would be willing to allow you to have your wedding on their property. That comes with a big ask because then they are allowing all of however many people you invite, your friends and family, to bombard their private property as well. They're putting a lot of trust in you if they allow it. So definitely respect that. I will say that's how our wedding happened. We ended up having some very, very sweet people in our church. They just loved old antique buildings. They would move cabins and barns from all over the US, mostly the East Coast. They had a large property that all of these things had been moved to, train cars, all kinds of stuff. And they had this barn raised up on stilts that had been moved, transported from Tennessee to Georgia, and they allowed us to get married in there. It was so romantic, so cozy. They would not accept a dime. They were just overly thrilled that we wanted to use their property. They had had a wedding or two there before, and they were like, every time it's just such a blessing. We love to see God bringing people together like this and using us and our stuff to do it. I will tell you that's not common, right? Like that is rare. But along those same lines, if you have people like that, ask, just ask. You may be surprised by how easy it is for them to say yes. They may say no. And at that point, you just say like, totally understandable. Thank you for considering. Thank you for hearing me out. Now with that, I was not really all that into like a rustic barn wedding, but the property itself was perfect. Everything about it was just dreamy. It wasn't like a typical barn, so I felt like it still had a lot of character to it. There was a wood burning stove in it, so there was a fire going the whole time. There was a tin roof. It ended up raining like right as soon as I walked in the barn to go down the aisle. It made it possible for us to make it our own. We just draped like long white curtains that I had gotten for cheap online. And then we used florals to do a lot. We had a wreath behind us at the altar, and there wasn't a ton of space, so we couldn't have a ton of people, which also helped keep costs down. At the time, I worked for the church that I was talking about before, and I knew that if I started inviting people from our church, I would not be able to stop. We went to a church of roughly 1,500 people at the time, and I was on staff. So I was very connected to so many, like so many had played such a crucial role in my life that I knew if I started by inviting my community group, then I would need to invite the Bible study groups that I had been close with prior to that season at the church. And then if I did that, then I would need to invite the worship teams because I helped out with worship, and then the children's ministry, and like all of these things. I would end up having a wedding of 1,500 people. And I just don't know how that would have happened, especially not on our budget. This is one that always shocks people. I bought my wedding dress from Amazon. It was like $165 at the time. I just wanted a white dress with long sleeves. I had read that short girls, A-line style dresses looked better, were more figure flattering, and I thought, you know what, I'll order it, I'll see what happens, and then if it's a total no-go, I'll just send it back, right? And it came in, and I was like, you know what? It has the things that I wanted. It's lace, it's A-line, it's got sleeves, it's elegant, it's classy, and it fits. Like, it needs some minor alterations, but it fit me. I thought, I'm going to be the only one there in white. This'll work. I know that that is not the common perception on wedding dress shopping. I know that a lot of people have this like huge magical experience and it brings them to tears when they put it on and all of those things. And sometimes I do wish that that would be the one thing that maybe I did a little bit differently. Not that I would go for probably like a super expensive custom dress, but just to have the experience with like a couple of my closest friends, my mom, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law. But that's also a lot of pressure, you know, and this way I was able to just try it on in my room by myself, and I could have my own opinions about it before having opinions of others and feeling kind of swayed one way or the other. You know what I mean? I also bought bridesmaids dresses online. So when I say that I bought them, I mean they bought them. Some people are really, really good to their bridesmaids. I can't say that I was. I got them little gifts and stuff for the day of. I actually ended up hosting my own like bachelorette tea. I did like a brunch, and I just had it at my apartment and dressed it up and had like glassware and flowers and served them all brunch, and like we just kind of, everybody got to know each other because they did not before that. So I don't know, I think that I was okay to my bridesmaids, but I wasn't like over the top going to pay for all of their stuff. Their dresses were only like $90 something at the time. I say only, for some people that's still a lot, like when it's not your wedding. But my intention was to find dresses that they would like realistically want to wear again. But then when it came down to it, they weren't. They were more formal, and I really liked the dresses. They were long blue, like dusty blue, and had tulle from about mid-waist down, and then they had these little shawls, because we got married in March. They had these little shawls that kind of were plaid and blue and tan, and they went over them, and they were just really pretty. The pictures were beautiful. They looked amazing, but I did not buy their dresses. Same thing with groom and groomsmen attire. Bought it online. All the groomsmen wore a dusty blue satin tie that we had found. So we did buy the men's ties. There was that. For the seating, this is one of the things where I'm talking about being creative and having people in your life that will not take no for an answer. We mix and match dining room chairs for our seating because the barn didn't have any, and I didn't want to just use like metal folding chairs, you know? So our family had about 20 or 25, I don't know, wooden folding chairs that I really liked the look of. They went with the whole style and theme. So we used those. And then the people that we were going to be calling our landlords, once we got married, they went to work. They had an enclosed trailer, and they gathered dining room chairs from like their house, their dining room, their kitchen, their parents' houses, their kids' houses. Like they went wild and ended up getting us like 50 chairs, transporting them to and from for us, helping with setup. Mind you, these people were like 60 years old. I mean, that's just the power of Christ working through the hearts of his people. It was the sweetest thing. They've blessed our hearts in so many ways, more than I could mention, but that was just like, our families were like, who are these people and how are they so kind? It was just really, really awesome. But I definitely recommend trying the whole mix and match style because it's really fun. It gives like an eclectic but homey feel to it, and it was just really sweet. That's one thing that our photographers did not get a picture of that I wish they would have. Arrange your own flowers. Another thing where the Lord blessed us, one of the ladies that I worked on staff with at the church was actually like a wedding planner on the side, and I had done a lot of weddings with her. I had done like 3 or 4 where I helped her with whatever it was she needed. She always hired some of the younger girls at church to just, you know, do a lot of the labor and be the runners. So I helped with several of those, and we had gotten close from working together. So I asked her if she could handle the flowers for my wedding, and she surprised the mess out of me when she said her wedding gift to us would be that she would do all of the florals at cost. So if we just paid to receive the flowers, then she would arrange them, she would decorate with them, she would do all of the things, she would handle that stress for us. And all that I needed to do was tell her what I wanted, and she would help me look at what our budget was and what fit within that. She ordered wholesale bulk flowers from Sam's. They worked out really well. I was hoping for peach colored roses. I'm assuming because it was March, that was kind of tricky, but they were still beautiful. I mean, they were very close to what I had envisioned, and the arrangements themselves were phenomenal. So definitely recommend that, but I don't know that I would recommend trying to do it yourself if you are the bride, simply because it requires a lot of like day before prep, and then keeping the flowers like cool enough overnight and in water, and then decorating with them. And you know, there's just a lot of moving pieces, and you don't want to be all frazzled and stressed the day before or the morning of your wedding. I would say to consider not doing a full meal. We had our wedding at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were out of there by 4:45. I do not think that that is wrong. I know that so many people are different than us. They love like being around huge crowds. They love a party atmosphere, and that just wasn't us. We're more introverted. We like to have one-on-one conversations with people, and by keeping our wedding small and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we were able to have that intentional time with our friends and family, and we were able to save a lot of money because of it. So we did finger foods. We had like a food committee, and that was mostly my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, you know, several other women. I think my mom and my grandmother maybe made some stuff too, and there was just like chicken salad croissants and cheese ball and pigs in a blanket and, you know, just like shower style food. But it worked because it was at 2 o'clock. Nobody was like super hungry for lunch or for dinner. It was just a nice in between to get a snack. I also am not the biggest fan of cake. So my sister-in-law came in clutch. I really wanted pies, and she made like 6 or 7 pies. She's so good. She's done wedding cakes for a long time. And it broke her heart a little bit. Like, she thought that it was just so strange to not have a cake that she ended up making us like a sheet cake and a round cake to put the topper on and for us to cut into. But it was so kind of them to do all that. I know it was so much work, and our venue was a little ways from where we all lived. So it was also a bit more stress because they were having to do all this from like an Airbnb, but that's how much they love us. Ask a close friend, not a bridesmaid, to be your wedding director. Also, thank them endlessly. Give them monetary gifts if necessary or if you can. I had a friend at church that our deal kind of going into this, mine and Nicholas's deal, was that we wanted to keep our wedding around 75 people, no more than 100. And that included the guest and all the people in it. We got creative with how we did that because we kind of said, only family is going to be invited. It's only going to be a family wedding unless it's people that are in the wedding or helping make the wedding happen. So with that, we got to invite some friends that played a part in helping our wedding play out. So we had like a coffee bar, and a couple of our friends that were married, they loved coffee. The female was a barista, and they came, and it was like so basic, but they gladly served coffee for everyone that wanted it. And then one of my friends from church that we had gotten really close on a mission trip, and she's just very like type A and organized, but super fun, easy to love. She was like, I'll be your director. Can I just direct for you? And I was like, actually, I hadn't thought about that, but I'm probably gonna need one, and that would be really, really helpful. So she was amazing. She kept everybody in line. She had me write out a timeline, and she made notes on the rehearsal dinner, and then she came the day of, and she just kept it all flowing so smoothly. She was on my photographer, on my hairstylist. She made sure that I did not have to worry about a thing. And that's where I'm saying, like, if you are the person with that gift, with that skill, it doesn't have to be a hands-on skill. Like, it can be a personality trait or just something that you're good at, being detail-oriented, or people just drawing to you naturally. Like, you have something to offer. And that's why anytime that I have friends or family getting married, I'm like, please, anything that you're struggling with on your checklist, let me know. Let me know if there's something that I can do for free. I don't want money, just like, let me try. Let me try. Because I know that it can be so much. And these people took such a weight off my shoulders by simply asking how they could help or telling me how they could help in this situation. Oh, also her husband was there just, you know, for moral support and to hang out. And, when it started raining, this is so sweet. When it started raining, he was standing right outside the entrance door because he actually opened the door for me to go in when it was time. And it was like time, and he was like, okay, go, go, go before you get soaking wet. And as we go in, I had no clue about this, but he was holding a red Solo cup and caught rain in the cup, which then they went and got like a small jar from Hobby Lobby and bottled up. And I still have a jar of rainwater from my wedding day sitting in my kitchen on a shelf. And so just, guys, the way that I get so emotional over how God worked on our wedding day and since then is too much. If you know anybody that sings, ask them to sing. Especially if they like have experience singing in front of people, I would recommend that. But because I served on the worship team at our church, one of my bridesmaids and closest friends, and then one of our closest, most dear family friends who's a little bit older, he was actually our worship leader. So he and one of my bridesmaids that I'd sung with, they did all of the music live for our ceremony, and it was just beautiful. He ended up singing the song that my dad and I danced to at the reception, and the song that Nicholas and I had our first dance to as well. He played the guitar and he sang, and it was precious. This has kind of already been said. DIY decorations, keep it simple. The venue makes a big impact. If you're in a venue that you don't love and you feel like you need to dress it up a lot more, then your decorations are going to cost more. Also, we decorated ourselves the day before the wedding. We got married on a Saturday, so Friday, my mom and I and a couple of bridesmaids spent decorating, and it was a lot of work, but it ended up saving us a ton of money, and it was kind of fun because it was like all these busy little bees floating around everywhere, working together to accomplish a really, really fun goal. Keep the party favors simple or DIY. I love when people make like jams or jellies for DIYs. I think that's super cool. That's also time consuming. We just got little, like, our theme was kind of antique-y, right? So we just got like little skeleton key bottle openers and then put like tags on them that said some kind of cutesy something about a key and love the Smiths that I have found on Pinterest. You know, I would say that this is not something that I would stick hard and fast to, but maybe have a friend do your hair and makeup and do each other's hair and makeup, like for the bridesmaids. I did not. I had a hairstylist, and I would say, like, I was very well taken care of because, again, my hairstylist went to our church and she gave me a great deal. She also offered to do the bridesmaids' hair if they wanted it. I think 1 or 2 of them wanted that, but not all 5 of my bridesmaids did. 3 of them did their own hair, I believe. I just kind of told them the style that I wanted them to have, and then they could make it look like that however they saw fit. But I will say that good pictures matter. Pictures last a long time. Hair and makeup is something that you want to have confidence in. You want it to be done well, and you want to like how it looks. So definitely go for your bridal trial run before the wedding day. Definitely, no matter who's doing it, make sure you have a trial run. And then maybe have a friend do it if it goes well during the trial. If not, call a hairstylist and hope that they have availability for your date. If you are into dancing, my brother is a wedding DJ, so don't tell him that I said this, but you can make a playlist and just plug it in through an aux cord to a speaker. There's like single stand speakers that project very, very well. Okay, but we did not have dancing. Again, that's just not really our style. So we did the traditional dances, but overall we just had like background music playing, and I made a Spotify playlist for that. My brother was kind enough to MC for us whenever it was time to do the dances, and then he played the certain songs at the right time that were not being played live. So that was extremely helpful. I was very, very grateful for his assistance in that. But again, we just weren't interested in having like a big party atmosphere, so we did not need that, but I didn't want it to be quiet in the background either. Okay, this is the one area that if all others are cut short, I would personally say don't slack on this. Use a good photographer. We found one that I went to high school with who had experience as a second shooter for weddings, but she was just starting to branch off as a solo photographer, and her fiance was her second shooter. So they were able to keep costs low because they were both getting the same income from it. You know, they were gonna split it regardless. And we ended up having our wedding photography done for like $800, I believe. I was really hopeful at the time to find a photographer for about $500, but her style was like photojournalism. It was so well done and so sentimental that I thought, I can splurge, because she also said that the main reason she needed it to be $800 was because there was still a lot of equipment that she was going to need to rent. So I definitely wanted to compensate her for her time, for her rentals, for her, you know, beautiful artwork. I wanted her to get what she needed and what she deserved. So again, I was like, this is the one area that I want to go big on, that I do not want to DIY, that I don't want to cut short. We had a family friend from the church I grew up in that said she could take the pictures, but she didn't have time in her life to edit them. I would need to do that. And while I have skills in photography and videography, I didn't want to do that. I wanted the package delivered to me, and I wanted it to be something beautiful that was stress-free on my end. And let me tell you, no regrets over that decision. Videography, I love videography, clearly. And even at the time it was starting to kind of ramp up, that wasn't a super huge deal to me. I just was like, you know what, if we're going big on photography, that's the thing that we're gonna have in albums and on walls for years and years to look back on. Videography is a nice sentiment. I love the cinematic touch, but at the same time, it's just not a necessary expense for us right now. So again, remember to thank your people monetarily or through returned acts of service or something. Do not let that slip. Give them cards, give them pictures. Make it worthwhile, not only for you, but make sure that they know how much they've blessed your heart, not just right after the event, but for years to come. We live nowhere near any of the people really other than our family that helped us with our wedding, but I still keep up with them on Facebook. I still see their families growing and see what they're being a part of, and I just cheer for them constantly. And I love when we get to join back together because we have been so woven into one another's lives. It's the truest form of what the word village means, and I have just been so blessed by them. So again, community plays the biggest part in keeping the cost of a wedding down. You can do as much DIY as you want. Many hands make light work. Unless you have many people to help you, it's going to be really, really hard because a lot of it does have to be outsourced. It's just a matter of how far are you outsourcing it to. All in all, I would say just dream big and have fun with it because this is your wedding day. It's supposed to only happen once. It's supposed to be one of the most special days of your life. But at the same time, don't let the wedding become the focus. Like, the focus is still the marriage. At the end of the day, whether your flowers are perfect or your hair fell down or it rained or the sun was shining or it was freezing and the heat broke, you are hoping to be married. Like, we have a goal that we're trying to accomplish here, and that is marriage, not a perfect performance of a wedding. So I would just highly recommend taking a step back, slowing down if you're in the planning process, and saying, what is really important here? And what are some things that we can kind of just settle down on? So I hope that maybe you found some things encouraging and helpful here. If you are heading into marriage, I would love for you to go ahead and subscribe to my channel as I continue all the time sharing low income or single income, cost-friendly ways to do life in all kinds of aspects. So I hope you're having a great day wherever you're at, and I'll catch you next time. Bye guys.